What's going on, guys? TJ here with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports to bring you the first look video for Week 10, this 11-game NFL slate over here on Draftkings that we do have. Cannot wait to break it down with you guys. I am alongside my man, Matt.
What's up?
What's up, man? How you feeling?
I'm coming off a really good win here Sunday. I know that we were already favored in that game, and you guys too.
Specifically about the Jags.
Yeah, we're talking about the Jags. I'm feeling great. Right. We're making a playoff run 2-6. We're gonna win another divisional matchup here versus the Colts.
Hey, it's gonna happen. It's this week against the Colts, right?
Absolutely. I don't know why we're 10-point underdogs. That is actually insane.
Yeah, coming off a win. I mean, I've never seen that script before, coming off of a big win and then all of a sudden blowing it next week. But we'll have to wait and see there with Trevor Lawrence and your Jacksonville Jaguars, Matt. Before we do get started on today's first look video, I do have to do a little bit of marketing, Matt, as you know. Okay. I do want to talk about our website here at DG Fantasy and the offer that we currently have going right now. It's a $10 weekly offer. It allows you to test out our cheat sheets, which how come every time I say cheat sheets, I feel like I say it weird, gives you access to our ownership projections, our actual projections, our favorite cash and cash plays, our GPP plays, for NBA and NFL. Matt and I put those out, every single slate that we have. We also do it for golf, but we also cover every other sport. League of Legends starts up tomorrow. Correct, Matt?
Yes, it does. The Nest League, technically.
The Nest League. Yeah, I love that. NHL, NASCAR, MMA, everything under the sun. So if that is something that interests you, if you're looking to become a more serious DFS player, again, that link is below. It's at ggfantasy.com.
Real quick, gonna cut you off. As of this morning, guys, provided a huge update on the website.
Big update.
I actually have it on my screen here. I didn't pull it up in time but when we started the video, but I have it now. What we did is we highlighted some of our favorite ways to give our favorite cash plays, our GPP plays. You simply, you guys can see on the screen here, if I click favorite cash plays, it eliminates all the low-owned guys, and it gives you a nice player pool of guys to choose from. One of the benefits that we've been working on here. Also, you can highlight specific favorite GPP plays from me or TJ. So, for instance, if I highlight my favorite GPP plays, more players will pop up. If I tag them, which I didn't yet because, again, it's only Wednesday, but leading up to lock here, you can also tag our favorite core plays, TJ's core plays, and even sort by position now. So that is a new update that we rolled out. A lot of sortable stuff here on our website.
Yes, Matt, unbelievable changes. I know I spent a lot of time trying to implement those over the last couple of days. So no, it's a big shout out to Matt. Matt's been working tirelessly on the back end to continuously improve the website, and it's really paying dividends. And then, Matt, one other thing I do want to touch base on, we are doing the $25 giveaway every Friday moving forward. So you have 2 days if that's something you guys are interested in trying to participate in. Today, Matt, after the video, once it's loaded, you guys need to obviously like and be subscribed to the channel. I want you to go ahead and post the favorite game that you will look to stack for GPPs. So that's what I'm looking for, Matt, in the comments.
I want to enter that. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. You can enter it. It doesn't mean I'm going to pick you or you're going to pick you. You're not going to pick you. You might actually. I wouldn't put it past you. So let's go ahead, actually, Matt. Let's go ahead and jump into this 11-game slate that we do have on tap. Week 10. We have a couple very interesting matchups and some high over-unders right now on the board. I'm going to go through game by game really quick. I'm going to go really fast. We got Buffalo and the Jets. Buffalo currently 12-point road dogs after that putrid game against the Jaguars. Currently a 47.5 over-under. We have the Bucs coming off a bye against Washington. Tampa Bay currently 9-point favorites on the road, a 51.5 over-under. We have Atlanta and Dallas. Dallas at home, 9-point favorites after a brutal game against Denver last week. 54.5 over under. We have the Saints and the Titans. Titans 44.5 over under. Titans currently at home 3-point favorites off of their fantastic win against the Rams. We have Matt's Jaguars traveling to Indianapolis, playing the Colts. 10-point road dogs, a 47.5 over under. Detroit and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh at home, 9-point favorites and a 42.5 over under. We got Cleveland and my Patriots in a barn burner. Pats currently 1-point home favorites, a 45.5 over under. Yes, we have Minnesota traveling to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. Chargers currently 2-point home favorites, a 53 over under. Another nice game, Matt, you might like to target. We got Carolina traveling to Arizona. Arizona currently 10-point home favorites with a 44 over under in that game. We got Philly traveling to Denver. Denver currently 2-point home favorites, a 44.5-point team total, or excuse me, spread. No, what? 44.5 game total. God, there's too many of them to run through. And then we got Seattle and Green Bay at 425, Matt. Green Bay currently 3-point favorites at home. Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson should both play in that game. I said Wilson weird, doesn't matter. 49.5 over under.
Aaron Rodgers, not Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson's. It's all good, baby. Let's go ahead and start at the quarterback position. And in terms of ownership, we have Josh Allen, who burnt a ton of people last week if you did play him, in a really good spot at 8,200 against the Jaguars. $300 price decrease, traveling to the Jets. Big favorites, a high team total over under, $7,900. Like I said, 14.2% ownership as of now. We have Dak Prescott in a good matchup here against Atlanta at $6,900, showing 10.4% ownership, Matt. The only two guys north of 10% right now in terms of ownership. Would you be starting your cash builds with either Josh Allen or Dak Prescott for week 10?
It'll be interesting to see how many people go back to Josh Allen after that.
Right.
Obviously, the other Josh Allen.
He sucked against the Jaguars, so he's going to suck this week. Right?
I was about to say, the other Josh Allen had a career game. That was the best I've ever seen him, obviously. The defense actually looked very good for the Jaguars. I don't think that continues, obviously. Unfortunately, again, I need to snap back to reality here. That being said, Josh Allen going to the Jets. I do think the Jets are a worse overall team. Their defense is probably a little bit better than the Jaguars. But still a very safe play, I would say, at $7,900, TJ, at 14.2%. If I can pay up for him, which I assume I will be able to if we look down further along in the slate here, especially at tight end and at a running back, I think I'll be able to pay it for Josh Allen. I think he's another safe bet here. Has a floor, I said this last stream, of about 20 points. I think he has 20-point floor again. This time he actually does, I think, at 14.2% ownership. So yes, I do think he's going to be the best cash option on the slate. Dak Prescott's an interesting one at 6.9K. It'd be interesting to see if people go back to him. He didn't do horrible, but he still only scored about 20 points at that lofty price tag last weekend. 10.4%. I do believe in Josh Allen there, and it's funny. We got a question in the Discord chat. These guys are all $1,000 off. That's kind of interesting. Carson Wentz is a pay down option. Is he cash viable? I was, immediately going to say no, just because it is Carson Wentz, but it is a good matchup here versus my Jaguars. I think this does make a lot more sense this week, and I think this is going to probably be the best matchup he'll have all season long. Carson Wentz at $5,900. I guess I'll pitch it back to you, TJ. Is he worth it? Do you see yourself going to Josh Allen or Carson Wentz?
Yeah, so I think going to Josh Allen is something that I want to try and do. He burned me last week, but it's not like I'm going to get off the train just because of one bad game against the Jaguars. I think they're going to come back in full vengeance here, traveling to New York. So RIP the Jets. The Jets defense here going up against Josh Allen off a pretty poor game. So yes, I do want to get to Josh Allen. If I cannot and I need to spend down, I do like Carson Wentz at $5,900 against the Jaguars. Your secondary hasn't been that bad this year, Matt, but just looking at how consistent Carson Wentz has been, the rapport he has with guys like Michael Pittman, how well Jonathan Taylor's been so far this year. I just think that offense is pretty good so far, through the first 9 weeks. So I do like him as a spend down spot at $5,900. I just think he's way too cheap in a really good matchup here against the Jaguars. So again, going to Josh Allen is something I want to do. If I can't, I would be looking at Carson.
I agree. I think Josh Allen's the way to go. I guess we should move on to some GPP options. You want me to go first? I always steal your plays. All right.
So, yeah, I know. That's what I'm worried about.
All right, I'll do two of them, and then we'll pitch it back. Taylor Heineke is one guy I have my eye on here against the Buccaneers. $5,400, just cheap, very good matchup. We know the one way to beat the Bucs is through the air here. Just doesn't make sense in terms of the ownership. I get he's not too far down, but at 6.3% right now, he has a projection of 18. That's the industry average, which is above Carson Wentz's. So that's very interesting. You can use leverage there, a cheaper option. And Washington football team always in the must-win game, I feel like, at this point. So I do like Taylor Heineke here at $5,400. It allows you to get very flexible in the other spots. But one guy, this is an obvious one because he is coming back from injury and nobody's going to be really looking at him. Russell Wilson at $6,700. This is supposed to be a competitive game against Green Bay. It is an away game for him as well. So we're going to need to see something from Russell Wilson if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive here against A-Rod and the Packers, showing 1.9% ownership right now. I really do like him here at 6.4 or 6.7K rather. Those are my two favorite options.
I hate that you keep calling him A-Rod, but I'm going to move past it.
Sorry.
My favorite tournament play is Tom Brady at $7,600 going against Washington. I would not be surprised if Brady threw for 450 yards and 5 touchdowns. Like the Washington secondary is so bad. They've given up the most yards per game. Obviously they've had their bye and they're still up there in terms of some of these teams that have played one more game than them. They've given up the second most touchdowns to opposing quarterbacks as well. They've been putrid. Brady coming off a bye week. I think he's in an absolute smash spot here at $7,600. I think people are going up to Josh Allen and cash. So I think people are forgetting about Brady right there in that pocket. So I love Tom Brady at 6.2%. I don't think that ownership holds. I think he's going to probably come up a little bit, Matt. But if he's going to stay, sub 10K or sub 10%, maybe even sub 8%, like, yes, sign me up for Brady. The highest team total over under, or the second highest, behind Dallas that we do have on the slate. So that is my GPP play for now. It's Tom Brady. I really hope the ownership stays down on him.
I don't have any other interest. I think those are my favorite options. I think they're very standout. I think Kirk Cousins is another guy that pops out to me at 6.1K. I called him last week on the stream, and he dropped 21, didn't do bad, and obviously kept it very competitive. If it's a similar type of game script, and Minnesota continues to choke in the last minute, which is they just do every single game. It's fine. He still puts up points, so that's why I like Kirk Cousins as a GBP option.
Yeah, so we had the rushing touchdown, which was big. He's just so inconsistent with his passing.
He's so inconsistent.
Like, he hasn't thrown for north of 200 yards in his last 2 games. And then, before that, he threw for almost 400 against Carolina. So the inconsistency there with Kirk, I think that makes him a fantastic tournament play.
Always.
I think Big Ben's really cheap, too, at $5,600. A really good matchup there against Detroit as well. I like the Heineke
That dude has not put over 20 points this season. He's just, anyway.
I know. Yep, but he's very cheap, and I think this might be the week that he can do it. Nachi Harris has obviously been a thorn in his side in terms of fantasy production, but I think Big Ben's cheap, but Brady for me is where I want to go.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and move on to the running back position. And right now, like we just talked about, Naji Harris, the thorn in Big Ben's side in terms of fantasy production, currently sitting at $7,900. Matt, the only player currently north of 20%, but we know that that's not going to hold true because there is somebody that we will get to that is not showing ownership currently. Austin Eckler, $7,600, showing 18%. We got Zeke, good matchup against Atlanta at 7K, showing 16.2% ownership. Cordero Patterson is just a thing. He's going to just be a thing, continue to be one. $6,600 at 15.7. And then we have Jonathan Taylor at $8,100, showing 14.7% ownership. Matt, the one guy I will mention that obviously is going to change and his ownership will fluctuate, it's just Fantasy Cruncher hasn't caught up, is going to be Dearness Johnson if Nick Chubb does sit. He's currently $4,700, something you will have to keep an eye on. But in terms of what we know now, obviously Nick Chubb and the Browns aside with Dearness Johnson, where would you be starting your builds for cash at the running back position?
I think this is the most obvious week to get different in GBPs at the running back position because these two running backs are going to carry all of the ownership with Naji Harris and Dearness Johnson. The price tag for Dearness Johnson is going to push up his ownership. I think probably one of the highest we've seen in a very long time, TJ. And then Naji Harris has the most obvious, matchup on the slate here at $7,900. He is that offense. If you guys watched the Monday Night Football game, clearly he is that offense, and they are projected 20.
Cowbell.
Yes, he is 20. He's in a game where they're 26 over under here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's no reason why he should not hit that price point. His floor game was Monday night, and he only got 16 points. That's his floor. So it's insane to see here. He has to get to 16 points at his price point. Really like them. I think you start your builds with Dearness Johnson and Naji Harris, no questions asked.
Yeah, I agree with you there. As long as Nick Chubb does sit, Dearness Johnson's going to be a free play there at $4,700, and it's going to make it a lot easier to go up and get a guy like Nachi Harris at $7,900. Like you said, Matt, his floor game so far in the year was this past Monday night, and he still had 25 total touches. So that's what you love to see from a guy like Naji. He continues to be a workhorse just in terms of the snap count. He played 82% of offensive snaps this week, or Monday night, which was second highest. How about David Montgomery? 85% of offensive snaps there coming back. We hadn't seen him since week 4 after the knee injury, and they threw him back out there. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And Khalil Herbert was great. He was great in the meantime, and it was just like, hey, you know what? You're gone. We got Montgomery back, and that's what we're going to – I just did not expect to see that type of snap count. But yeah, Naji Harris continues to be that workhorse there for Pittsburgh. So I agree with you, Matt. I think Naji Harris would be the guy that I want to get to in terms of cash at $7,900. The Lions have given up the tied for the 5th most touchdowns to opposing running backs, and then they are also in the top 10 in terms of rushing yards given up so far this year. So it's a good matchup there for Naji. I think in a game where they should be winning if game script holds, they are 9-point home favorites. He probably will get 25 to 30 total touches. So I do like starting builds there. And then again, if Nick Chubb is out, Dearness Johnson.
Detroit is very, very bad.
Yes, they are. In terms of tournaments, Matt, does anybody stick out to you right now?
Everybody, right? But like I was saying with Dearness Johnson, he's going to probably be 50% owned come the time of block and big GBPs. You can really get different in a lot of places, but I have a few that stand out to me here. James Conner, Arizona, assuming that Edmonds does stay out, $6,300. And he is a workhorse when he is the only guy there. I mean, he's getting touches out of the backfield, or he's getting touches, he's getting receiving passes out of the backfield. He dropped 40 points by himself last week, so if that's an indication of what's to come here, really do like him in terms of the volume at $6,300. Deandre Swift, if they can keep it close, why not? It's double-edged sword there with Nachi Harris and Deandre Swift. The volume there is going to be there for him at $6,800. I really like him all the time in terms of PPR upside, so that's another guy that stands out to me. And then I'll go ahead and name one more and not steal everybody from you. Dalvin Cook got his full workload last week. Like to see that here. Got 17 touches and was involved in the receiving game. So again, competitive matchup, 8K. Love that love to see that there from Dalvin Cook. And the over/under for that team is a 26. So I do expect a lot of those points to come from Dalvin Cook. Those are my favorite GPP options.
Yeah, so Dalvin Cook, 80% of offensive snaps, and I feel like Matt, the workload, I feel like he can handle more. He only had 20 total touches. I think he's a 25 to 30 total touch kind of guy, week in and week out when healthy. Obviously, he's been dealing with some stuff on the back end, also off the field. So I hope everything works out there for Dalvin. But yeah, 8K showing 11% ownership. I do like that. I'm looking at some of the cheaper guys right now.
Okay.
I have some interest in, I can never get them right. Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams both have a really good matchup against Philadelphia. I will have exposure to both. They both did very well against Dallas in a game where they were up. I think this type of game I feel like what happened last week with Dallas, we could see the same thing here for Denver at home. They're currently 2-point favorites. So I think they rely heavily on Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. I'll have exposure to both. I don't know if I'll, have one locked in and fade another, but I think they're both very cheap at $5,300 and $5K respectively. Javonte Williams being that cheaper back, but I do have interest in both of those guys. $5,200, Matt. I also have some interest in JD McKissic, a game where they should be trailing against the Bucs, playing from behind. This is definitely a game where I think McKissic can go and get you 8 to 10 targets out of the backfield. You can't run on this Buccaneers defense. So, I just wouldn't even trust myself to go to a guy like Antonio Gibson. No shot. And we know that when they're playing from behind, that pass catching back and that scat back is JD McKissic. So I do like JD McKissic and his PPR upside in a tough matchup here against the Bucs. And again, they're probably going to get smoked. So I just think JD McKissic, I wouldn't be surprised if he had 10 targets, maybe a little bit more. I would say 8 to 10 is a pretty good pocket there. But that's where I'm looking at. I'm looking at some cheap options, probably guys to potentially pivot off of that Dearness Johnson $4,700 price tag. Maybe some interest in Devin Singletary at $4,700, but again, he's more so their pass catching back in a game where they should be winning. We thought that against Jacksonville and it didn't happen. Maybe they lose to the Jets too, but who knows? So let's go ahead. Yeah, I would very much so like that. Let's go ahead.
I didn't think about that. We helped you guys a lot.
Big time.
Nice.
Big time. Yep. Only a game up on the Pats right now are the Bills in the division. So it's something to keep an eye on. Mac Jones, 1-3 straight. They look good.
He does look very good.
Yes,
I will tap
very
cool,
calm, and collected. Let's go ahead and move over to the wide receiver position, Matt. Right now, we have Davante Adams showing the highest owned at $7,900 at 19.7% ownership. We have Cole Beasley at $5,200. The price tag won't come up on Cole. He's 14% owned. We got Stephon Diggs at $7,500 at 13.4. We got Deontay Johnson, somewhat of a cheap price tag at $6,800 for a guy of that talent, 13.1% ownership. Then we have Amari Cooper rounding out the top 5 at $6,200, getting a price increase. He was $5,700 against Denver. He's showing 12.7% ownership right now. Matt, we already talked about the quarterback and running back position, potentially getting up to Josh Allen and Naji Harris. So the question begs, will you be making Davante Adams a priority at $7,900 in cash, or will you be going to one of these cheaper options who's also carrying ownership?
With A-Rod, I'm going to keep saying A-Rod. Aaron Rodgers, whatever, 3 names there. Yes, I am making him a priority at $7,900. The reason is because Dearness Johnson, I don't think we realize how cheap that price tag is, $4,700. You can save a lot of salary. And Naji Harris really isn't that much at his price tag. It's not like he's 10K. So I think you can put Davante Adams in there. I really do, especially when we move over to tight end. We'll give another reason why. 19.7% ownership is what he's showing right now, and he looks like he's by far the highest owned here, by 5%. So I think, yes, TJ, as of right now, I'm making him a priority at $7,900, especially if Aaron Rodgers is back. Cole Beasley obviously is intriguing. Same thing with Stephon Diggs. But yes, I think you are prioritizing Davante Adams if Aaron Rodgers is back against a not so good Seattle secondary.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And I'm trying to tinker right now and just see what you would have if you started a build with Josh Allen, Naji Harris, Deontay Johnson, and Devontae Adams. You'd have, what did I say?
Dearness, you said
Deontay Johnson?
Deontay,
Yeah, excuse me. Dearness Johnson. Yes, not Deontay Johnson, Dearness Johnson. Josh Allen, Naji Harris, Dearness Johnson.
How much salary?
And Devontae Adams. You would have $4,300
and then
left.
Putting in a $2,000 defense.
Yeah, if you put in, well, I will not take the Jets against Buffalo. Maybe I should, because Jacksonville last week, Matt, they had 17 points against Buffalo. Maybe I ride the Jaguars again at $2,200. Then I'm just flush with money. I don't even know what to do with all the money I have.
See?
But yeah, I agree with you there in a competitive game there against Seattle. Load up Devontae Adams as long as Aaron Rodgers, who should be good to go. He had 14 targets with Jordan Love, which was, third highest on the year so far. But again,
didn't complete many of them, but yeah.
Right. No, definitely didn't. Yeah. Jordan Love did not impress, unfortunately. I think that was his opportunity, and didn't really work out for him. Seattle's given up the 12th most passing yards to opposing quarterbacks, so I think it's a pretty good matchup there for Rodgers and Devontae Adams. I think we're going to see a lot of points in that game with Russell Wilson back as well. So if all things are good for
Russell
the two
Wilson
quarterbacks,
too.
Yeah, Devontae Adams at $7,900. That's where I'd be going, Matt. And then Cole Beasley. I just think the price tag and the targets that he's been seeing, the one thing you got to take into consideration is Dawson Knox should play this weekend. So I think that takes away from Cole Beasley a little bit. But I mean, 11 targets against Jacksonville, 13 against Miami, and then 9 against Tennessee. And that's all without Dawson Knox. So I think if Dawson Knox comes back, I think that takes away from Cole Beasley a little bit, but he is still questionable. And it's something that we're going to have to take into consideration. So if Dawson Knox sits, yes, I agree with the ownership on Cole Beasley. If Dawson Knox plays, then I don't know how high I would be on Beasley, but I do think he is very, very cheap.
It's just another offense with so many weapons, man. They have so many good wide receivers there.
That Tennessee game, actually, Dawson Knox did play. So it was the last 2 weeks with Miami and Jacksonville that Dawson Knox sat, where Cole Beasley had the 24 targets. So something to keep in mind. I think there's also some other cheap plays, Matt, or not some cheap plays, just some guys that are that I'm definitely considering for cash. Chris Godwin being one of them at $7,100.
No, you're going to steal all these guys,
in the walking boot. Yeah, well, I mean, Godwin over the last 2 weeks without AB has been absolutely, he's just been lights out. We
now
talked
AB
about
should be back,
matchup.
right?
No, AB is still in the walking boot as of now,
Right.
so I don't know if he plays. And I expect him to sit. We talked about Chris Godwin being one of our favorite wide receiver plays in Week 8 when he was $6,400 because of the Lattimore effect there on Mike Evans. And it held true. He had 8 receptions for 140 yards. As long as AB continues to sit, Chris Godwin is going to be that safest wide receiver, I think, in that Bucs offense. So I would really love to get him at $7,100. Again, the builds, if you have Adams, if you have Chris Godwin, if you have Josh Allen, if you have Naji Harris, it might be tough, Matt, to fill out a whole entire lineup that you're confident with. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. If I can get Devontae Adams and Chris Godwin, if I got to go ahead and bite the bullet on one of these cheap options for wide receiver, like Jacoby Myers at $4,800 is somebody that I'm looking at as a cheap plug-in. I know he hasn't been great as of late, but
he hasn't been good, TJ, at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
I just think he's a pretty good cheap option. Shut up. God damn it. Now the train's off the track now,
I frustrated you.
Yeah, you did big time. Michael Gallup is also another interesting play. I'm just looking at price tag at 4K. He is expected to play Week 10. I don't know what kind of volume he would see, but that offense looks like it needs that third kind of option with Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. They really struggled against Denver. They couldn't get anything going. So Amanda just texted me from the couch because she's asleep saying you're yelling. My girlfriend is sick right now. Yeah, she's looking at me. Okay, so Matt, I know I just took a couple tournament plays there. I would consider Godwin more of a cash play, but I would consider some of those cheap guys like Jacoby Myers and Michael Gallup as tournament plays. Are you looking at any cheaper tournament plays, or who do you like for tournaments as a whole?
Okay? Actually, you didn't take any of mine, which I was surprised because these are, I think they're pretty obvious on the surface. Michael Pittman, what a beast he has been.
He's carrying some ownership.
He
That's
is.
Why he's 11.5%.
Shut up.
So yeah,
shut up.
I have Pittman thumbed. Pittman is thumbed.
Okay. He's a good overall play. We'll just call him that. At $6,300.
Yes.
I don't think that you'll necessarily be landing on him just because of that price tag and like we were talking about with everybody paying up for Devontae Adams. But yes, I do. He's been very consistent. I think he's a fantastic safe play here.
I know what else you're going to pick.
Showing 11.5. And I'm sad about this next one. I'm very sad because he's on my fantasy roster and he's just been DJ Moore. DJ Moore, $6,300. Tournament play only, please. I know. Just been very, very sad about him. Like he's still getting targets, 7 targets. I really do like him. And then DK Metcalf come back with Devontae Adams on the other side of the ball, right? I think that's a very good shootout potential, good stack. $6,800 with Russell Wilson back. We know he's been pretty consistent even without him. So with Russell Wilson, I can only expect his production should pick up even more. $6,800. And then one more guy. I'm going to steal your guy.
No.
Okay, go ahead, Sam.
What? Who?
Mike Williams?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm going dumpster diving. Go ahead.
Okay, Mike Williams, just in the competitive matchup, does make sense here. People are completely off of him. He's been struggling as of late.
Yep.
Cheap price
script
tag
is
there.
flipped. Yeah,
Yes.
the script is flipped. It's been Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I'm ready for it to flip back and take advantage of the ownership.
So Matt, real quick before we go ahead and move on to the tight end position.
Okay.
There's two guys at $4,800 that I'm looking at in the same game. Jacoby Myers being one of them, and then Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think somebody on our stream said he might be able to rip the top off on a long bomb, and I think that happened. He had
He
3
did
targets,
exactly that, yeah.
2 receptions for 86 yards and a touchdown. He had 1 long TD. I think it was like 60-something yards. It was a 60-yard touchdown in the second quarter there.
I believe they're missing another wide receiver too, so that's good.
Yeah, Beckham Model, I think his name is.
Yeah.
So if Donovan Peoples-Jones or Jacoby Myers, who would you rather take at 4,800? Because I personally think that Jacoby Myers has a safer floor, but Donovan Peoples-Jones definitely has the higher ceiling.
Can I say neither?
Okay, let's move on to the tight end. We have Dallas Goddard currently showing. Oh, first off, the highest in terms of salary is Kyle Pitts at $5,800.
Yeah.
$5,800. We have nobody north of $6K on this slate.
That's crazy.
But let's go ahead and look at the ownership right now because we have Dallas Goddard at $4,700 showing 12.2% ownership. We have Kyle Pitts at $5,800 showing 11.4% ownership. Then we have Jared Cook at $3,200 showing 11% ownership right now. Matt, the question to you is, will you be using one of these three in a cash build, or is there somebody else on your radar that you deem cash viable that might not be one of these guys carrying north of 10%?
I don't know if you know this, TJ. I started Dallas Goddard the past 2 weeks in cash, and he hasn't done bad, but he's, he hasn't done what I've wanted him to do. Yeah, exactly. It's been Jalen Hurts.
Not throwing the ball at all.
Right. But the one thing with Dallas Goddard is he's getting targets, and that's what I do love to see there.
Right.
If Jalen,
real quick, I'm going to cut you off.
Okay.
I have Jalen Hurts in all 3 of my fantasy leagues, and he's been a blessing up until week 7. In these last 2 weeks, he has 31 attempts in 2 games.
Yeah, it's not been good.
Running the football with Howard, Boston Scott, Gainwell, me, you, Hurts. It's just.
I mean, it worked. It worked against Detroit. It didn't work last week, so.
Right.
It almost did. But yeah, Dallas Goddard, if he continues to get targets, I like that. Hopefully they throw the ball more. I just think he's safe. 4.7K, he's not getting a huge price increase. So if he's the number 1 target there, I'm going to keep going back to the well. And the ownership makes sense here. And the reason that we were talking about the line of construction in terms of tight ends, TJ, was you brought up the good point. $5,800 is the most expensive we see here in Kyle Pitts. He's next on the list. So I think people are going to be like almost either forced to pay up for him or forced to pay all the way down here with Freiermuth at $3,900 at 9.3% ownership. I think that's where people are going to end up going because they're going to be box score watching. But yes, I do like Dallas Goddard. I think Freiermuth is your next obvious option, and then if you have the money to pay up, I think Kyle Pitts makes a lot of sense here as well.
Yeah. I agree. If Goddard's the guy I want to go to, if I have the flexibility and I have the salary to do so. I just don't trust Hurts over these last couple games, and they are going to Denver. We saw what Denver just did to the Cowboys. If that's any correlation as to what they could potentially do to Philly, like that's a game I probably want to avoid on the Philadelphia side of the ball. Freiermuth's the guy that I'm looking at, Matt, at $3,900. If Eric Ebron continues to sit, he's been an absolute animal in the red zone. Big Ben constantly is looking for him when they're down there. He's got 3 touchdowns over his last 3 games. He has 20 total targets. Like if that volume's going to continue to show, he's a good athlete. This kid's he's from Massachusetts, actually. He's from Andover, Mass, which is 45 minutes away from where I currently live. So local kid, he's just been absolutely phenomenal. The price tag's at $3,900. I do love him. Dan Arnold also. I talked about him last stream. He just continues to see targets, continuously sees them. He's got 17 over his last 2 games. Before that, he had 13 over his last 2. So he has, 30 targets over his last 4 games. It's almost 8 a clip. So 7.5 targets a game for Dan Arnold, a tight end that's showing $3,500 in a game where they're traveling to the Colts, who have a very bad secondary, in a game where they should be trailing. Like, I don't mind Dan Arnold, honestly, at $3,500. So I don't think you really necessarily need to spend up for Goddard and Kyle Pitts. I think there's better, cheaper options. Even Jared Cook at $3,200. I'd rather be going to Cook, or I'd rather be going to Freiermuth if Eric Ebron sits. And then if not, I think Dan Arnold at $3,500 is a very cheap play.
Honestly, I agree with everything you just said. The one thing we have to pay attention to with Dan Arnold is going to be Trevor Lawrence, because he's technically dealing with the ankle sprain, soft. Yep. I don't know why he acted like he broke his ankle in half when he went down. But anyway, we had to monitor that.
Yeah. And then in terms of tournaments, Logan Thomas expected to be back. That's something to keep an eye on against the Bucs. I really do like him at 4K if he's good to go and he won't be on a snap count. Dawson Knox, same type of situation. He hasn't played since week 6. If he's good to go, I do like him against the Jets. And then TJ Hawkinson at $5,500, Matt, showing 5% ownership in a game where they should be trailing against Pittsburgh. again, he's the only guy I feel like that has hands on that offense. He's got 31 targets over his last 3 games. That trend is not gonna die. It's just gonna continue to hold true as long as the Detroit Lions are gonna continue to be the Detroit Lions. So I do like Hawkinson as a tournament play, showing 5% ownership along with Logan Thomas and Dawson Knox if they are not on snap counts and they're good to go for their respective teams on Sunday.
I like it.
Perfect. Defense.
Yes.
Defense.
If you started Jaguars last week, then you were sitting pretty.
Yes, you were. But right now, the Cardinals are carrying the ownership at $3,700. Matt at 10.1% owned. We have the Titans at $2,600, showing 9.7%. Then we have the Buffalo Bills at 4K at 8.2% ownership. Man is now on the phone. She's just doing the most right now on the couch. Matt, would you be looking to spend up for the Cardinals or Bills at defense, or are you probably just going to go to the Titans at $2,600? Because for me, in terms of building purposes, I think spending down for the Titans probably the smarter play for cash.
It probably is. And again, line of construction, I think the safest option is the Cardinals because Carolina's looked horrible these past couple weeks, especially DJ Moore. We already talked about that. But yeah, this might be an interesting build in terms of line of construction because you might be able to pay up for Buffalo because of all the pay down options there, especially if more opens up. So again, I really do think it just depends on line of construction, but I agree with you. I think the Titans are the most obvious at $2,600 just because we always pay down for defense. Cardinals are probably the most obvious, not taking into consideration value. And then the Bills, in terms of upside, are the best option there at 4K. And I think the ownership's right on this.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. Again, I think the Titans for me is probably where I'm going to end up landing. In terms of tournaments, find the defense that's going to score you touchdowns. Just figure it out, guys. It's not that hard.
I do like your Patriots against Cleveland for that matter.
I also like the Patriots, especially if Chubb's.
Yeah, $3,400 is also very cheap. So
yes,
I agree. I think it's
Matt, I think that's going to wrap it up for the first look video for today. Matt, you want to take it away? Because I have to...
You have to do some stuff. Yes.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and take it away? I'm going to mute for a second.
If you guys did enjoy this content, please do hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course, smash that like button for all of our future NFL content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day. Let's cash.